There's two types of jobs in this world. There's jobs where there are fake titles and title changes, and they're just trying to make people look important. And then there's other companies that have it figured out, and they change roles, they promote people, they demote people, they do everything in between, and they're trying to make things more efficient. The Detroit Lions have hired a ton of new coaches, and they have promoted massive amounts of coaches from within to be more hands-on approach, and it's all pointing in the same direction, and that direction is this way. That direction is up. And I think what we have to realize about the Detroit Lions is that they're starting to figure it out. This front office, this coaching staff, they're all coming into their own, and they're starting to be like, I am firmly putting my stamp on this team. We are going to do things differently than other teams across the NFL, and we are going to really pour into our players. And you have an ownership group that's saying, we're going to give you the resources. Here you go. And it has turned out to be really cool. So Pride of Detroit had a great article where they talked about all the coaching changes. In this video, I want to talk about some of those coaching changes and why there is not one move, not one, at least so far, that I don't agree with and I don't like. And they're all pointing, like I said, in the same direction, and that direction is up. So, on Wednesday, the Detroit Lions announced several coaching changes to their staff. Most they said were simply changes in titles. I actually disagree with this. They also confirmed the hiring of new assistant coach and running backs coach Scotty Montgomery. So here's a look at what some of it was. All right, Tanner Engstrand. Great. He used to be the tight ends coach and the passing game coordinator. What is he now? Passing game coordinator. Okay, so he went from doing two jobs to doing one job. There's a theme here. Let me ask you a question. If all your time and energy is spent on one thing versus two things, what usually are you more efficient at? Right? Like, become an expert in this thing. And yes, they said here with the hiring of Steve Hayden as the team's new tight end coach, Engstrand is now freed up to a more all-encompassing role of passing game coordinator. In other words, he's working hand in hand with Ben Johnson, and they are working through those things. JT Barrett, former title offensive assistant, he was there. He was working with the quarterbacks. It almost felt like a prove it job. And as an offensive assistant, now he is serving full-time intimately with the quarterbacks behind quarterbacks coach Mark Brunell, two former players at that. I never thought this. I didn't know this about JT Barrett, and maybe it's because I was a Michigan fan. Didn't realize that how cerebral he was about the game. That is really, really cool. He does, as much as I hate to admit it, come from a good system in Ohio State that they understand how to open up the field in the passing game. All right, Steve Oliver. All right, he's been with the team for a couple of years. He was offensive quality control coach, now assistant O-line coach. Do you see what they're doing here? They are giving these guys specific positions, and they're saying, we're going to have two people coach. Any of you out there, you don't have to raise your hand. I usually would say raise your hand. It's the former teacher in me. I would say raise your hand if you've ever coached a team. Is it easier to coach a team, a position by yourself, or with another person? The answer, if the person next to you is a quality person, is almost always with another person. All right. Former title for Sean Dion Hamilton, William Clay Ford, minority coaching assistantship. Talk about ownership creating a way for good coaches to be brought into the fold here in Detroit. Now, assistant linebacker coach. Do you see a theme? Like, it's not just on the offensive side of the ball. It's on the defensive side of the ball. And he is going to be coaching them up big time. He'll move back to his playing position to assist Kelvin Shepard with the linebackers. All right. Brian Duker, this is the first one where it's like, all right, it's a lateral move. He assumed the DB role last year when Lions fired Aubrey Pleasant. So this is his new title. It's just basically what Aubrey Pleasant was, kind of, and they hired Dre Bly as their cornerbacks coach. This is the opposite of the theme where he's going from a specific position to now he has two positions. Honestly, it's kind of like a promotion if you think about it. So here are a lot of the coaching changes that have been made, and these are just coaching changes from within with the organization. And I need to take a moment and talk about this. The Ford ownership group. What have we always said as Lions fans? Get rid of the Fords. Get rid of the Fords. As long as a Ford owns the team, they're going to be terrible. It is just another offseason where we have proven that Sheila is no ordinary Ford. Right? She is not the Model T. She maybe she is the Model T. She's original. I don't know. But Sheila Hemp, right, has changed her name. She has changed the culture in Detroit from a Ford ownership group that is hands off, that doesn't care, that says, hey, do I need to write a check? If I have to write a check, I will. But they don't care enough to do the little things, to a person who is just like, promote, move, do whatever you want, hire some more coaches. You know, if somebody's going from an internship program to being an assistant linebacker coach, they're getting a raise. You know, if someone is going from offensive assistant to assistant quarterback coach, they're getting a raise. Like, she's putting out the money in positions that not every team is willing to do. They're just not there. And what the Detroit Lions are doing is creating a pipeline of new coaches hiring into the ranks. If you have JT Barrett working side by side with Brunell, if you have him working side by side as quarterbacks coach, and Mark Brunell has aspirations to go on and do something bigger, JT Barrett moves right into the quarterback coach position. He's there. And he's not the only one. He's not the only one. If you have Sean Deion Hamilton working side by side with Kelvin Shepard, and Kelvin Shepard is being groomed to be the next defensive coordinator, or he's going to spend more time with Aaron Glenn to prepare himself to be defensive coordinator. The linebackers have a coach, Sean Deion Hamilton, working with them right away, and he's ready to step in to the linebacking coach position. Same with Brian Duker and Dre Bly. Like, this is the way the NFL should be going, and the Detroit Lions are on the cutting edge of it. They are preparing for people to leave. What they have realized in the first 2 years is that they have a good coaching staff. I think they always knew they had a good coaching staff, but the NFL is realizing it too. And 2 years now, you've had what you thought was going to be one or both defensive coordinators leave. You've lost a running backs coach in Deuce Staley. So you sit here and you're like, how can we insulate ourselves? Hire more coaches in specified roles that are ready to step up and take the place of the other coach in case they decide to move on. If they decide a position group isn't for them and they want a bigger piece of the pie, you have someone to replace them. This is fantastic. This is a really good call because you have players. And here's the other side of it. Not only do you have players ready to take their place, but if you have two quarterback coaches, if you have two running backs coaches, if you have two wide receiver coaches, if you have two linebackers, it doesn't matter. It allows the main linebacker coach to have a bigger voice in the overall defense. It allows the wide receivers coach or the quarterback coach to have a bigger say in the overall offense because the players that are at the position still have a coach coaching them up, so they won't miss that one-on-one time as much as they would have before. It creates the ability for your position coaches to be more involved in the overall game plan, and it allows your assistant coaches to be ready to step in when those position coaches get promoted. This is huge. This is insulating ourselves. This is what security looks like. This is what a lasting model looks like. This is awesome. Hit the subscribe button below because you know you want more Lions content because it's exciting. It is so exciting what they're doing. And if you haven't become a member of the channel, go ahead, do it. It's a great way to support the channel. All right, we'll see you on the next one.